Hello,
Cryptophobes!
or people who don't know very much about cryptocurrency world yet.
Yet, operational term here.
Nowadays, you really hear two main counter arguments. It's not ecological and it's too volatile. Well, there's a lot of misleading information out there and definitely incomplete. There's an old technology, yes, totally terrible for the environment. Nowadays, there's a newer technology that is completely green. It does not use any more electricity than social media. So, yes, this old technology that we hear that Bitcoin and Ethereum are using is called the technology of consensus of proof of work. And you will tell us a bit more about it and how it works. And it's more than 10 years old, and nowadays there's more green coins that use the technology called proof of stake. And you will tell us more about this as well in a second. And the two biggest advantage of that new technology, of the cryptocurrency in general, is that it is all decentralized. You're also going to tell us more about this in a second, and counter in opposition to our banking system, who has the whole monopoly, decides and control everything about our money, our liquidity. And the second of all, it's autonomous governments, it's completely democratic, decisions are taken all together among the blockchain. And can you go ask and take decision with your banker and decide how many fees is going to be next month because of the services they offer you? I seriously doubt it. So, yeah, can you tell us more about why it is terrible for the environment, this proof of work technology?
Yeah, well, blockchains like Bitcoin and Ethereum, they spend a lot of electricity because they are using proof of work. And what does that mean? Well, you have to reach a consensus between all the participants of a network, contrary to your traditional bank, which has a centralized database and they keep track of all ins and outs to accounts, so they don't need to have consensus to establish who has what money in their system. In proof of work, you reach this consensus by having miners solving cryptographic puzzles to prove the system that a transaction has been made truthfully. And whoever solves that cryptographic puzzle first gets to have a lot of rewards. So there's an incentive to have competition. So you can see where it goes. Lots of people with lots of computers competing against each other to reach to consensus. Well, that spends a lot of electricity, lots of energy, and
especially if they're competition mindset.
Yeah. So that's what proof of work is, and you have the latest numbers. How much does Bitcoin and Ethereum use for proof of work?
Yes, let me double check. So if you take just the whole transaction of Bitcoin, it is about 135 terawatt hour, which is the equivalent of the whole country of Sweden. And if you take Ethereum, this is 55 terawatt, and this is the equivalent of our country, the whole Switzerland.
Wow.
And it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And when you look at, now if you take Cardano instead, that's about 0.006 terawatt hour. So that's, I should check the proportion, exactly how much it is less. But now if you take just the electricity for one transaction of Cardano, which is 0.54 kilowatt hour, it's the equivalent of watching just 1 hour of Netflix or YouTube on your laptop. So it's the most electricity eater in our internet world. It is definitely the streaming video data. that is the most invisible polluer that we do not talk about. And it's important, if we are all sensitives, that if it's also important for you, like it is for us, the future of our planet, the future of our generations, to be a bit more aware of all these electricity consumption.
Okay, well, very informative. And you said Cardano sounds like it's spending a fraction of what Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Yeah, that's why it's called a green coin. Yes.
Okay. Well, maybe I can explain why. Because Cardano, like some other blockchains as well, it uses proof of stake instead of proof of work. So remember I said there are lots of miners competing against each other with their computing powers and proof of work.
And the fastest, so the person who has the most powerful computer, so the one who will use the most electricity, will be able to do the transaction.
Yeah. So in proof of stake, instead, we draw a lottery between, now we call, instead of miners, we have validators. We draw a lottery between validators, and
it is random. It's amazing.
Yeah.
No competition.
But let's put a sense of how random it is. It is like a lottery, and the person who has the most lottery tickets have the higher chance of winning it, right? So in
it's
proof
still
of
more
stake,
advantages for the richer in this way.
I mean, in proof of work too, you have to be rich to have all those computers. So so it's not really really different there in terms of who gets what. But
at least it's more neutral for the environment.
Yeah, because instead of now having all these validators working all at the same time and competing against each other, one of them or a group of validators will be randomly selected at a given time instant, and they will do the validation and the consensus for the
and get the reward as well.
Yeah. So I mean, I've heard in Cardano there are some really cool guys. They, instead of putting up huge servers, they have little Raspberry Pis or Arduinos.
I haven't checked how much Raspberry Pi consumes in electricity. I should check that up. Very low, I guess. Yeah,
I mean, the equipment requirement is really low. The electricity you use is much lower. So of course, the overall network also spends less.
Yes. And I love the fact that this Cardano also is managed by a foundation in Switzerland, in Zug. So for me, it brings a more confidence factor to it. And can you explain a bit more also how this coefficient of luck, like I like to call it, can be different for different validators?
Yeah,
that's staking.
Sure. So going back to the this analogy of lottery tickets, right? There are in Cardano like around 3,000, maybe a little bit more, validators, and lots of other network participants, and they can choose to delegate what they have in terms of ADAs into these validators. The more ADA, the more money, Cardano money, a validator has, the higher the chances that that validator will be selected for.
And when you say has, it's very different. I mean, when someone will be staking, like you and I, when we stake with a validator pool, we are still in total control of the liquidity. The money is never blocked. No one else has access to it. It stays in our wallet. It's very different than in our bank nowadays. If you want to have a return of 5%, let's say, you need to block your money for more than 30 years. Plus, they don't even guarantee of giving you back even what you invested with them. So that's the biggest also advantage that I love about cryptocurrency. It has this redistribution of wealth, and it's not gaining like the banks. They're making wealth disproportionately and giving us 0.0001%. on our capital. So we stay in total control of the liquidity and can take all the decisions we want. And
I mean, you say lots of interesting stuff, and each one of them may deserve its own video, but
it depends from some crypto. Yes, some people you can have 5% of return just by staking, so there's zero risk, still in your pocket the money, and some can go up even to 12%, for example Polkadot, another one who is managed by a foundation in Switzerland in Zug.
Yeah, I mean, it's up to your taste, and you know, if you like, you know, if you just like opening up a savings account in your bank and you don't want to do active trading, well, already participating into a blockchain network validation like this will be yielding a lot more than making your money sit in a savings account, basically.
Yes. What else do we need to say about?
We have got a lot more to say, but
we want to keep this video short.
Let's keep
and
it
yeah,
short
of course,
and
throughout
tasty.
the ages, we've been very resistant to change. If you look from emails, how many years did it take us to completely switch from paper to accept an email to be the proof?
Yeah.
And then from CDs, cassettes, videos, DVDs to completely go online on streaming, which is the big catastrophe for the environment. And now, of course, we need to find data centers that will be able to use less electricity. That is not my field of expertise.
Can you?
It took us time to adapt some change, and I believe it will take us much time, and it will happen the same for a cryptocurrency in the future.
I mean, don't trust us. Do your own research for sure.
We're not experts. We're just sharing our experience with for the past around a little bit less than 2 years about now with crypto world, and we've been very happy with it.
Yeah.
And
can you put your research into comments this video?
Yes, I have analyzed. I've compared some energy consumption between some different cryptocurrency and some different daily appliances that we use at home and with social media. And it was very new for me. I had absolutely no idea like how much a household even just consumes. In Switzerland. We are like 4,500 kilowatt per hour, and the whole world globally uses 26,800 terawatt per hour. And all these I had actually really zero notion about. And what would be interesting would be also to compare these kilowatt hour into the real CO2 emission, which is the true impact for the environment. Because if you're using, of course, more greener energy, your CO2 impact will be lower. And now I don't know about you, but now these days, like these huge, if it's like Meta or YouTube, Google, Netflix, now they're all aiming on this neutral carbon footprint. Now, do you think also for you that it's fair that you cut some trees in some sides and with all the pollution it's going to create, and because you're going to plant another one the same moment, does it make fair to you to calculate a CO2 footprint this way?
That's entirely
I don't know about
a new line of
yeah, that's another
brewing up
talk.
there for sure.
And yeah, anyway.
Oh yeah. Well,
if you have any questions about the crypto world more in specific, I will be very happy to talk about it with you, to also look more, do more research. And if you find any information that was also incorrect, please let us know, and we'll gladly interact with you furthermore in some other in other videos and posts. So yeah, have a great time, and I hope now you will be also like us, a cryptophile.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers. I'd also like to mention how we are already having a terrible ecological impact just by using our Visa system, just this already digital way of doing transaction. It is already consuming even more than Bitcoin and Ethereum altogether. Just 1 year of transaction for Visa, it consumes 197 terawatt hour, which is astronomical. Now, of course, if you take the biggest of all pollutant, it'll be the video streaming industry. Netflix, YouTube, with 600 terawatt for YouTube and 370 for Netflix. No one talks about those, how it's way worse than Bitcoin and Ethereum. So yes, and when you compare Cardano, for just one transaction, it's the equivalent of watching 1 hour of Netflix or YouTube on your laptop. It really only takes 0.54 kilowatt hour for that one transaction. It would be like leading one of these old incandescent light bulb for 5 hours. And in comparison, just for one transaction of Bitcoin, it takes 1,777 kilowatt hour, and Ethereum is 125 kilowatt hour. And if I remember correctly with my calculation too, it would be like leaving on non-stop 2 years of a light bulb, of this old 100-watt light bulb, to do one Bitcoin transaction, and compared to 5 hours for Cardano. So it's really interesting to observe these differences, which I had absolutely no idea for me. So it was really interesting to discover and now have more references of how much we truly consume in electricity. Yes, thank you. Personally, I was not aware that the streaming video industry takes so much more electricity than cryptocurrency, that they are the biggest companies that pollutes currently in the world, in the technology world. And of course, it makes no sense to limit or restrict videos access, and the access to information is so important and precious. Now, I don't know yet how we can make data center more green, and now it's just nice to be aware of how much we truly consume. When I hear people say they're against cryptocurrency because it's not ecological, not only it's not accurate, it's also not being fair to the other 4,500 different coins that exist out there and that uses different technology and that are ecological. It's like also saying a group of people are mean because of the decision of one leader, for example, going to war, or because of one individual decides to blow themselves up and kill thousands of people with them. So let's not do amalgam of different and confuse and mix and put everyone in the same basket, every technology in the same basket, and let's really judge everyone for what they do, and yeah, bring in more clarity and be more aware of the true consumption of electricity. Let's be more fair.